ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive.
It is Wednesday, February 8th. Your drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. Thanks for being a part of today's program. I think we're going to have fun today. We've got coming up Marshall cross-country coach Caleb Bowen. He is joining us about 5:15, so we're going to talk to him. And, of course, we're going to take your text this hour, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. And, of course, something else to keep in mind. We have different ways for you to be a part of the program. I want to get you starting to use our app, and we'll start that soon, but I want to get you used to it first. We've got something that's called shout-outs, and you got to get our app. And how you do this is you go to your app store, either Google Play or for the iOS devices, Apple, your iPhone, and you find our app. We've got the links also on our website, wrvc.com, so you can go to the link there directly, and you download our app, and then if you would open it up, you will find a menu. And I know this is, I'm trying to give you a visual here of what this looks like, because there's a reason why I'm telling you this now. So you go to our app, and it's on the top left. It's those three horizontal bars. And what you do is, I just open it up, and you click that, and you have live stream, you have podcast, which you can listen to the show that way. Or you can also go to something called Shout Out. And if you click that, then it'll ask you to enter your name and location. So Paul from Huntington, I would type Paul from Huntington, and I would hit the microphone, and I would start recording. Hi, this is Paul from Huntington. I think your show is great. And then after you're done with it, you can play it back, see if you're happy with it, trash it. You can use the icon that has an arrow pointing up and a cloud to upload it. Then it comes to me. And so we'll give you an opportunity here in the following weeks to be able to send us out your shout-outs, maybe during post-game, especially during post-game, because Marshall's coming up this week on the road once again for a couple, and we'll get your feedback that way, give you an opportunity to be a little bit more interactive. And say you want to call in, but you're not that comfortable talking on the radio, and that's fine. A lot of people aren't. You can do a quick 15-second shout-out, 15, 20-second, put your thought together real quick, send us a shout-out, we'll play it back, and you can interact with us that way. So I'm looking forward to hearing from you. And we're going to do some fun things with it as well. But the reason why I'm hitting that now is because I tried to send a tweet out earlier, and it's not a Paul Swann issue, because I do know that some days I have hit that Twitter limit, especially around a Marshall football game. At one point, Twitter said, no, you've done enough. Thank you. Twitter's, at this moment, it is 5:09 on Wednesday, February 8th, Eastern Standard Time here. If you're listening to this on podcast, I tried to send a tweet and it told me that I had gone over my limit. So some of you sometimes will message at me. You want to talk to me, you'll go through Twitter. So there's some different ways to, one, not always be on Twitter. So that's why the shout-out is going to be good. The text line is always going to be good at 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Also, we're on Facebook. We've got a couple of things right now. We've got a page, and that's a great place to follow. We're going to do more with that. And I post a link there every day to the podcast, so you can get that. There's also a group. And the reason why I'm doing the group is because we did this the other night, and it seemed to be pretty fun. People want to do it again. I started a Marshall basketball chat during the game. And I was tweeting less and just maybe popping a few more things into the group chat and just reading your reactions as it was going. It was pretty cool. And you got to be a member of the group. And you can find that link on Facebook. You can also join our page. And I will start posting this stuff out. once Twitter lets me, I'll start posting this stuff out a little bit more on that. But I don't want to depend as a secondary media outlet for me, or secondary platform. I don't want to depend solely on Twitter. I want to be where you're at. So if it's Twitter, so be it. But I want to also be where you're at and where you're going. And I also want you to be where we're at. So I'm encouraging you to download the app and start practicing, start sending some shout outs, some hot takes, questions. We'll prompt you at times for those, and we will do all of that here in the upcoming weeks. But I want to get you used to downloading the app, listening to it, and get the Dog app while you're at it. 93.7 The Dog. Get that app as well, because when we do Marshall games, we're going to try to keep it simple. I want you to have both apps because I'm going to be in different places, but I want you to also have the app where you can follow Marshall consistently. And that will always be 93.7 The Dog, our sister station, the 100,000 watt blowtorch there. So get that app. Go get the Dog app while you're at it. And then you can do the cool things like listen to the podcast for the show. If you miss it, you can also send us the shout out. So that's the app lesson today. And again, that's because I'm perturbed that I was trying to tweet out a couple of things to give you a heads up of what's coming on the show today. And coming up on the show here in the next few minutes is going to be a conversation with the cross-country coach, and that is one Caleb Bowen. He is joining us on the program here in the next few minutes. We've got a lot to get into with him. There'll be home action this weekend for the Thundering Herd, so we'll get into that. There's also some good news today from track and cross-country. We'll get into that. And something else I want to talk to you today. We had yesterday on the show the new head coach of Marshall Baseball, Coach Beals. He was on with us yesterday, so you can go get that on the podcast now. I knew this was coming out. It just wasn't official. And I knew where Marshall ended up. But, again, it wasn't official until it's official. The Sun Belt standings preseason coaches poll is out. We're going to talk about that later on for baseball. I don't know if it's fair, if it's inaccurate, it's downplaying the herd, it's overselling the herd. We're going to get into that. And, of course, your text, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. So that's always the first place to start with the show, the text line. So we're going to do that when we continue. We'll also be on the phone with Caleb Bowen. He's coming up next here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Welcome back to the Wednesday, February 8th edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Still to come, we're going to run down what the coaches think of Marshall baseball. We've got the standings, preseason standings, what the poll looks like. Were the Sun Belt coaches kind? Were they in love with the herd? We're going to find that out. But I'll tell you what, one thing is certain right now. One team that everyone should be in love with right now is Marshall track and field, Marshall cross country. Just anybody that runs and does an outdoor sport, you should be in love with right now because they're doing stuff that I didn't think we'd be able to do here in a few years ago. Yeah, even with the new facility. Now we've added men's sports back to track and field, and to tell us more about what's happening. We haven't had him on since, I think, the presser I think it was the presser the last time that we talked to Caleb. And since then, it's just been one success after another. Caleb Bowen is with us. It hasn't been that long. It was the presser to basically say, hey, we've added men's sports. Hey, we've got baseball and we got men's sports. It was like a combo deal.
Oh, I think you cut it out. I couldn't hear that first part of the question.
See, you missed everything, Caleb. I said so many great things about you. Now I got to repeat it.
Oh, man.
I knew you missed it. No, what I was saying was I think the last time we actually got together and talked was the presser. It was that combo deal. Hey, here's baseball, and here's men's track and field, all of that. And ever since, it's just been upward and onward for this program. Have you been surprised by the early success you've seen?
So not really surprised, just because I've been fortunate enough to be with this program for the past 7-8 years, and even before then I ran here. So the building blocks were being built years ago, but definitely the decision to bring back men's track reignited a fire, especially on the men's side. I mean, they were directly influenced by it, but even the women. I mean, we were just talking today, Coach Small and I, with some of the administrators, and it was so fun going to our last track meet up at Louisville, and we had all the men down on the first row, and they were so loud cheering for the women, in all their events, and likewise, the women are right there with them, cheering for the guys on the team. So there's just a huge excitement that's been brought with just adding, the men's team, letting them compete in the track meets, going to the conference championship here in a couple of weeks. So I think the excitement is what has really brought in all the school records, the awesome performances, the athletes of the week, and all that. So we're just really excited to be part of it.
My guest, Marshall cross country coach Caleb Bowen. The event coming up this weekend we want to talk about is the Marshall Invitational. That's on Friday and Saturday. Who's coming into this? Who should we be excited to watch the Herd compete against?
Yeah, so we have 7 teams coming in. All of our meets are Division I only meets for the most part. So we have Wright State, Dayton, West Virginia University, Appalachian State, Morehead State, and Northern Kentucky, and they're all coming down. It's going to be a really good opportunity to get another great competition for the sprinters and jumpers and throwers, but it's going to be more of a distance meet, if that makes sense. Because a lot of these teams like West Virginia, like Dayton, like Appalachian State, they have their specific events that they focus on. And I'm really excited on my side, just being the distance coach, to see what these teams bring into the the distance races. But each, like I said, each one has their own event, so we're going to see a lot of great competition on all the events. But really, I think I'm most excited for the distance races.
Have you seen an uptick as far as people who maybe want to come support both the men and women now that you actually have both men's and women's sports at Marshall? Have you seen that uptick in fan support, people maybe coming by that you've never seen before showing up to an event?
Yeah, we've had a few. I mean, we've always had really good support for the women. Other sports teams on campus have been great with coming to the track meets and supporting. But, there's definitely a lot of excitement with bringing back another sport. One that was ended, 2003, 2004, somewhere in there. I think a lot of people were really excited to see the sprinters from the football team come out, and some big names on the football team who are awesome people to work with. So I think there's been quite a few new faces that have been showing up and supporting. I'm probably going to see a whole lot more this weekend, especially with us bringing back. We have the Marshall track and field and cross country alumni reunion this weekend on Friday and Saturday. So we're going to see a whole lot of people from the past who have been supporting for so long. But this is really an honor for them, a privilege for us, honor for them to be able to come and see something that they've been wanting for so long.
Top 5 names. Who's coming back that maybe Herd fans will remember?
Oh, shoot. To be honest, I don't know because I haven't really looked at the list. I do know a lot of guys from my era, whenever I was running, which is from 2011 to 2015. I don't know. I do know that we have one former athlete that's competing. He's going to be throwing the weight throw. His name has lost me.
I put you on the spot.
Yeah,
You'll never come back again now because of that question.
Apparently not, yeah.
Yeah, because I put you on the spot here. I'm going to hear about that later.
You probably will. I need to like look at a list, and I can tell you some names that you probably would remember, but off the top of my head, I really can't.
Okay. Well, we'll revisit it. I'm sure I'll get a text later from Sports Information and David O'Leary. I'm sure I'm going to get that message later. Why'd you do that to him? Here's the list. But so Randy Moss isn't coming. So basically, that's a no there.
That's a no there. I'm not even sure if we reached out to him, but it would have been really cool if he did.
He was something on the field, and so now you've got football players who want to do more than just play football at Marshall. They want to run track and field. You alluded to that earlier. Is Coach Huff or any of the football coaches kind of coming by more often, checking out what they're doing? Wondering maybe why they haven't been able to get those guys to run as fast for them when they're on the football field. What are you seeing from the other coaches, especially football? I know we kind of joked we were trying to get Tavion to run, but you guys suggested maybe the high jump for him.
Yeah, I think high jump would be best. But to answer your question, so our strength coach, BA, he's been heavily involved with seeing what they're doing. BA's been awesome to work with, and it's really cool because he's a true student of the sport. And what I mean by that is he's always trying to learn more. And I remember a couple of weeks ago when we first started up with practice again, him and his guys, the other strength coaches, just came and watched and learned from our sprint coach, Don Yentes, about acceleration. He had a lot of questions, and he just sat in and was asking our sprint coach questions and asking why we were doing things the way we were doing it. And I think it's definitely helping. Our sprint coach he constantly asks the guys on the football team, "Hey, do you think you're getting anything out of this? Hey, do you think this is making you faster?" And they always say, "Yeah." I'm hoping that we'll see a lot of progression from the first meet, back in January to this meet and also the conference meet. But yeah, I think the other coaches, I haven't really seen many football coaches come by too much, but they were all there at the first home meet, and I imagine we'll see them again at this meet as well.
Marshall cross-country coach Caleb Bowen joining us. The event's coming up this weekend for fans to maybe give an eye to how fast these guys and the ladies really are, how well they progress. And Friday, it's 6:30 p.m. Saturday, it's going to be 10:30 a.m. And, of course, there's going to be a lot of distance in this. We've got something exciting to talk about because we touched on this earlier. I want to circle back to it. There have been a lot of awards, recognition. There's a lot of, let's just say, some really good performances. I think that's fair to say. Some record-setting performances, some high-level performances, and it's been acknowledged by the league, and we just got another one today. I know you're excited about this, is Macy Majoy named Sunbelt Women's Field Athlete of the Week. She is a graduate from Ohio, broke her own school record in the pole vault at the PNC Bellarmine Invitational last Friday, and she was... Is dominant the right word to say? Is dominant probably the best way to describe what she did?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, so Macy Majoy has been a consistent pole vaulter her whole career here. She's always been good. Even the first day she came on campus, she was good. But it's just been amazing to see just the progression that she's had year after year after year. And with this being her fifth year, I think she's finally seeing like, hey, track and field is almost up for me. She's going to join the Secret Service here after she graduates with her master's. And, she's just trying to get the most out of herself. So she's going all in. I mean, she never has been as dominant as she is now. But I think it's just because of all the hard work she put in, in the previous 4 years. That hard work is finally paying off. She's just dialed in, and she's listening to coaches, she's listening to her body and herself, and she has just this new array of confidence in each meet. So it's just been a wild ride just to watch it all happen.
So she's honored from the league this week, and then we're getting close to, of course, conference, but I want to focus on the home meet first. How has, let's just say, with the addition here, how has the, I think, response statewide, let's go there first, because now you've got a lot more attention, on Marshall, and it's benefiting the women as well. It's anything that is addition is going to benefit both the men and women. Yeah, are you seeing a resurgence as far as the state? More interest, more people that are wanting to take up the sport again. Both cross country, track and field, and now that there's an actual in-state opportunity for high schoolers. Are you seeing more of a focus from coaches or more of an interest in-state and regionally because here's this wonderful option now?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, because we've lost a lot of recruits, especially in my area during the cross country only season, just because we didn't have men's track. And unfortunately, when we brought back men's track, in October, a lot of the class, like this upcoming class, 2023, they'd already, they're ready to sign already. We're committed to other places. So, I got a few, but I could have gotten a whole lot more, I think, from the state had it been like an earlier decision. But, better late than never. But yeah, we're seeing a whole ton of 2024's prospects who are reaching out. And it's almost to the point where it's hard for me to respond to all the emails just because there's so many. And actually, our AD, Christian Spears, allowed us to hire a new assistant coach to help with that, just because he knew we already worked hard enough with just the women's team and the cross country team. So, adding on a whole other sport, he definitely blessed us with having Andrea Deem come back and, really help us out. But yeah, we're seeing a ton. We're still in a dogfight with a lot of other schools, though. I mean, Ohio University on my side with, men's distance, they're always tough to out-recruit just because Athens is a really cool place and they have in-state tuition for West Virginia. So, we go head-to-head quite a bit. Other schools, the kids we want to get are also looking at other bigger schools like Kentucky, Louisville, places like that. So we want to get the best that we can, but we definitely have gotten a whole lot more interest from a lot of kids in state and out of state.
I'm probably taking you somewhere you can't touch on too much, but with the recruiting being so tough, are there conversations to maybe try to match a school? You can't match every school and what they do. You can only do what you can do and try to be the best at it. But that was a huge point you just made. In-state tuition for kids in Ohio that are from West Virginia. So, are there conversations you're having, all the time, the administration, different coaching staffs that you're privy to as far as to try to maybe limit some of those advantages that other schools have? And I know if the football thing is really big now, and that's going to help you.
Yeah. It is kind of tough to figure all of it out. We don't where we're not a head count sport. We do percentages and stuff. So for cross country, we're allotted 5 scholarships. That's a fully funded program on the men's side. And then on the women's side, track and field kind of encompasses all of it, and they have 18 scholarships. Here in the next few years, we're going to slowly start getting more and more track and field scholarships. But just right now, we don't have any money for it. So as we get more money, we're going to be able to offer more. So to touch on your point, matching other schools, it's kind of tough just because a school may offer, let's just say, a 420 miler from Hurricane, West Virginia. They may be able to offer them more just because they have more available. And that's just up to the head coach and whoever he or she has available. And then there's also this academic support and scholarships there if they're on Pell Grant. So there's a lot of different aspects that go into each decision. And that's the stuff that we do normally in the summertime. We have a huge recruiting list and we dissect, what the needs are, where they're from, what we think they're going to be able to provide, what can we provide them. And it's a little more complicated than I can probably explain on this phone call. But, we do have a lot of research that goes into it. And then ultimately, whenever we bring them on visits and they like it, that's all the other aspect of it. That, we don't want a kid to come here and then transfer in a year. We're not big fans of the portal at all. We want them to come here, stay here for 4 or 5 years, get their degrees, and end up being, hopefully pretty good runners. So, I'd rather have a kid come here and enjoy their time rather than trick a kid in coming and being miserable, if that makes sense.
No, perfect sense. Marshall cross country coach Caleb Bowen joining us. And the other thing I wanted, again, with recruiting, and I don't want to focus too much on football because it's a bonus. Your football is always going to be football, and you're always going to be track and field and cross country. But there is that crossover. So, are there conversations with some of the football staff, or will there be some synergy? And I hate using that buzzword, Caleb, but as far as players that want to come in for football, and part of it is they would like to run track and field as well, or they'd like to, have more than one sport to participate in. What are those conversations like, or starting to look like?
Well, I think we definitely need to have more conversations between the two staffs because, like, right now, I don't think there really is much. But I think that is something that football can definitely recruit too, because there are a ton of football players that love to do track as well. I mean, our sprint coach, Don Yentes, he's really good friends with the LSU head track and field coach. And LSU uses that in their recruiting all the time. And it makes them faster. It's a lot of cornerbacks, wide receivers. And, once football season's over, they pretty much just drop them off with the track and field team and let them race the meets that they can run. And then summertime, they come back as football players. I mean, there's so many lists of all the great football players that run track. I mean, Randy Moss being one of them, but the list is so comprehensive. So it's definitely track helps football and football helps track. They definitely coincide with each other. So yeah, I just look forward to the discussions that we can have and what we can do to help and all of that. So,
are you getting any looks from soccer, from Chris Grassie's squad or Michael Swann's squad, as far as some of the they're running a lot. It's a different type of running, but they're running a lot. So does that translate well?
Not typically. I mean, it's just two different sports. They always talk about how soccer players run so many miles in a game, and I'm sure they do, but it's just different. It's different from, you're redlining when you're running a cross country race. You're redlining for 6 miles or whatever the distance is. That's totally different from being able to use your agility and strategically planning when you're going to attack the goal and stuff. Like, you're running, but you're not going full blow the whole time. So it's just two different sports I don't even like to compare.
That's why we're asking you the tough questions today, Caleb. So so now we know. But that interested me a little bit because I know there are some crossovers in different sports, football being the most obvious. But I didn't know if you had any potential crossover from soccer. As we joke around with Tavion Kinsey, maybe doing the high jump, there's some crossover there. I don't know if he'd do the pole vault, but the high jump, definitely. You guys are on spec there. So the meet's coming up this weekend. What can fans expect as far as, if they haven't been before, this is the first time they want to check it out, what do they need to know? How much does it cost to get in, support the herd, and all that good stuff?
Well, the cool thing is I'm pretty sure that the track meet's going to be free to come in. So no tickets required, no money, anything like that. What I would say to expect, I definitely recommend everybody. We're going to finalize the schedule of events probably actually this evening because our entries just closed at 5 today. So we can go back and make some little changes to the tentative schedule that we have. But, find an event that you really want to watch and just come up, relax, and enjoy it. We're going to have a whole lot more people due to the alumni event going on as well. But, get there early, try to watch. If you're a distance fan, you love watching the distance races and all the strategy that's involved with that. I would come for us. I would watch the 5K and the mile and the open 3K. There's going to be really good events. If you're coming to watch a school record happen, which, pole vault obviously is one that goes down pretty much every weekend. And we have a great second pole vaulter as well, Diana Goodman. She's been killing it as well. But, my studs, we got Kylie Maston in the 800. She's already the current school record holder. She's going to try to break her record again and get a good spot for a conference. Abby Herring and Sydney Smith, they're going to be in the 3K. So that'll be a fun little event for both of them. Sydney is the current school record holder in the indoor 3K, and Abby is the school record holder in the outdoor 3K. So that'll be fun. And then we have a freshman, Hannah Weiler, who's going to be trying to break 5 minutes in the mile for the first time. So that'll be a fun event for her. On the men's side, especially in my events, we're trying to figure out who we're going to put where at conference. And like right now, top 12 get into the fast heat of the 3K. So we're going to put our all-conference runner, Evan White, in the 3K. And we're hoping that our freshman, Matt Schenenberg, who was the state champion from Winfield last year, we're going to put them together so that they can push each other to get into that fast heat. Because Evan's already in, but we're trying to get Matt in as well. And then Brett Armbruster, he's one of our mid-distance runners. Usually he's in the 800. He was trying to sneak in and try, break that school record in the 800. But since we've been doing it for a couple of weeks now, we're going to try open mile, and he's going to try to run sub 412. So we got some exciting stuff coming up.
Good talking to you. We'll do this again soon, Caleb, and we'll hopefully be talking about some more records being broken here in the next few weeks, and of course with conference, and it's exciting. I'm glad everything's working out so far, and it's been fun to follow from afar and up close.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Thanks for having me on the live show.
Live show, podcast, multimedia empire, wherever your speakers are, you're everywhere.
Nice. That's awesome. So you can go back and listen on the podcast.
Yeah,
Love it.
You can do that. You could download the app, listen to the podcast there. You can just subscribe to it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Anywhere. I feel like I'm making a commercial pitch here, but that's what I'm doing. So yeah, you can go back and listen to the podcast and enjoy it again and critique us. And Paul, you could have asked that question better.
Sounds good. All right, have a great evening.
Thanks, Caleb. Appreciate you doing it. That's Caleb Bowen, the Marshall cross-country coach. It was good catching up with him and talking a little bit about what's happening with the sports of running at Marshall University. More coming up here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Welcome back to the Wednesday, February 8th edition, The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. We've got basketball action for you tomorrow. Thundering Herd getting it done, hopefully, these last few weeks in getting into a good spot in the Sun Belt tournament. It's another mirror schedule. The women are going to be in action at 11 a.m. tomorrow, and the men will be at Coastal Carolina at 7 o'clock. So women versus Coastal, men versus Coastal. We'll have the men's game for you beginning at 6 o'clock right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. So I'm hoping that the Thundering Herd can bounce back, and whatever the outcome may be, we'll be right here for you with the pregame and then the postgame, where we'll take your text. We'll hear from Dan D'Antoni. I'm hoping that we'll have more people on the postgame Zoom this time, so we can really break this one down, because I'm not necessarily able to hang out to the Zoom long periods. So I'm hoping that more people will be on the Zoom with us tomorrow for the postgame. If it's a win, it'll be quick. If it's a loss, it might be quicker. I don't know. But that's what's coming up tomorrow, so we'll get into that. Baseball is rapidly approaching, and we've got the preseason coaches poll today. Now, I knew about this yesterday. I knew where the Herd would end up, and this is now official. Marshall, you know what? Let's start from the top. The coaches all believe, except for maybe 2 or 3, that Southern Miss is the number 1 team. And so with 11 first-place votes, Southern Miss is number 1. And then tied for second, Georgia Southern and Texas State. Texas State also received the first-place vote. Louisiana is 4th, also receiving a first-place vote. And there's really not that much separation between Georgia Southern, Texas State, and Louisiana as far as the points are concerned with the votes. Coastal Carolina is right behind those teams at number 5 with also a first-place vote. So not much separation there from 5 to 1. Here's how the separation starts to begin. South Alabama comes in at 6th, and then Old Dominion is at 7th. Not too much as far as difference between 6 and 7 as far as the points, the votes. Troy comes in at number 8. And then after that, there's a drop-off. Georgia State is number 9. James Madison is number 10. Then Louisiana Monroe is 11. App State is 12th. Coming in next to last is Marshall with 36 points. And then Arkansas State, dead last, with 23 points, number 14. So Marshall picked 13th in the baseball preseason coaches poll. Marshall, of course, brand new coach. We talked to him yesterday, Greg Beals. If you missed that, you can go back and listen to it on the podcast. And the easy way to do that is through a subscription on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or you can even download it and listen to it on our app. And all you have to do is download the ESPN 94.1 and AM 930 app for your iPhone or your Android. You can get the link to the store of your choice on our website at WRVC.com. So that's one way you can go back and listen to that conversation yesterday. But Marshall's got 23 new players coming in, 16 returning players, and conference preseason awards, and all Sun Belt team, not a single Marshall player on the list. It's all Texas State, Southern Miss, Louisiana, Georgia Southern. There is a couple of players from Georgia State, but that's it. That's your preseason all Sun Belt team, a combination of those teams. So Marshall doesn't have to really worry about too much pressure. You're 13th. You're 13th, so what's the worst that could happen? You finish 13th. Or possibly 14th. Okay, let's just go there. Marshall possibly finishes 14th. I'm not saying this is a throwaway year, but next year is going to be different, I hope. You got the new stadium to recruit to. You've got this thing called the transfer portal. We'll see how that works for Marshall baseball. Could you imagine really good players seeing Marshall as an opportunity and can transfer into Huntington to play baseball? Brand new ballpark. You see that the school is making a commitment for baseball. The state has made a commitment, or at least the governor's office has made a commitment for baseball with a generous check. That seems to be the talk of the town in Charleston, how that money came to be. But that's another show, another day, and that's a different debate. But Marshall's building a baseball stadium. New coach, new energy. Going to play some games. Sun Belt games are going to be played in Charleston at Gomark Ballpark. Route 2 still going to be utilized. So there's a lot still happening with Marshall baseball. So this year, Marshall picked 13th. Okay. I like to see Marshall finish, obviously, above 13. Maybe a little bit above the pack. We'll see. I'm not saying this is a throwaway year, but I think we're going to see what happens with the Thundering Herd the following year with the new ballpark, and then after that. I think that's where we're going to start to see and push for the progress. Same thing with the men's soccer team. Once the soccer field got established and once you brought in a new coach and you started to recruit more to that soccer field, that soccer program that's on the rise, I think you saw success. We've got to take a quick time out, but we will come back and wrap it up with you here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. And that's going to do it for this edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I want to thank today for coming on the show to talk a little bit about track and field and cross country. Marshall cross country coach Caleb Bowen. Herds in action on Friday and Saturday That'll be over at the indoor complex. And, of course, we got basketball action for you tomorrow here on ESPN 94.1 at AM 930 as the Herd's getting set to take on Coastal Carolina. We go on the air at 6 o'clock. You can listen to that pregame coverage here on ESPN 94.1 at AM 930 or on 93.7 The Dog. Once again, thanks for tuning in. Twitter's working again. Finally, you can find me on Twitter when it works, at Paul Swann. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Until then, have a great night, everyone.
WRBC Huntington, W227BS Huntington, your flagship home of the Marshall Thundering Herd and The Drive with Paul Swann, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.